Okay, so you know how it is, right?
Yeah.
You're like trying to learn and stay on top of things and get ahead, but it's like you're just drowning in information all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
You want the good stuff, the really important insights, without feeling like you just had to cram for some like giant exam.
Exactly.
And that's what we do here on the Deep Dive, right? We take these like super interesting sources and we pull out all that like core knowledge you need quickly and thoroughly.
Yeah, and today we've got a good one for you.
Ooh.
Hell Yeah or No by Derek Sivers.
Okay, I've heard of that.
It's a really cool collection of essays.
Okay.
And it just gets right to the point of how we make choices about like our time, our energy.
Yeah.
Think of it like a guide to like seriously intentional living.
I love that.
Yeah.
So what really struck me about this book was just like how simple it is.
Yeah.
It's not about adding more stuff to your life, right?
Yeah.
It's about like getting rid of everything that isn't a huge, like hell yeah.
That's it.
That's the whole point.
That's the whole thing.
So our mission today is to like dive into Sivers' whole philosophy and pull out those like really crucial insights that can help you, the listener, focus on what really, really matters.
Awesome.
It's about doing less but better and with real purpose.
I like it.
And it all comes down to this one like central idea,
Yeah.
which is right there in the title. Hell yeah.
That's right. Hell yeah or no.
So let's break down this like fundamental concept.
Okay.
Sivers' argument is like, it's pretty simple,
Mm-hmm.
but it's so powerful.
Right.
Basically, if your like gut reaction to something, like an opportunity or request or whatever,
Anything.
if it isn't an enthusiastic hell yeah,
Yeah,
it's a no,
but it's a no.
that's it.
It's such a good filter,
Whack-a-moo.
especially in a world with so many demands on our attention. Like,
Oh my gosh.
think about it. How many times have you felt like you had to say yes to something, even though you weren't really excited about it?
All the time.
The hell yeah principle just makes you pause.
Yeah.
You know, and really think about how you actually feel about something.
It's a gut check.
It is.
It can save you so much wasted time and energy.
And mental clutter.
Oh, yeah.
It's huge.
And that's a big part of what we're talking about here, right? Feeling overwhelmed.
Yeah.
How often have you said yes to something that you're just kind of like, meh, about?
Yeah.
And it just adds another, like, unnecessary thing to your to-do list.
Exactly.
And this principle is like a preventative measure.
It is.
And Sivers says it so perfectly.
Yeah.
If it's not a hell yes, it's a no.
Right.
I mean, it's so direct, but it's so freeing.
It is.
So when you actually use this idea consistently,
Yeah.
you start to see all these things you've been doing out of habit or obligation
Yes.
rather than like really wanting to do them.
Right.
Which brings us to another super important part of Sivers' thinking.
Okay, I like this.
The power of selective focus.
Ooh. Tell me more.
So by saying no to almost everything,
Yeah.
and he emphasizes the almost everything,
Yeah.
you're freeing yourself up to like fully say yes to the things that like really matter to you.
Right. It's like realizing that your time, your energy, your attention,
Yeah.
these are all limited resources.
Right.
You can't do it all.
No.
You can't be everything to everyone.
No, you can't.
And you certainly can't give your best to every single project.
Right.
And what's so cool is that this idea of being selective,
Mhm.
it actually like increases your impact on the things you do choose.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, think about it. If you're spreading yourself too thin across a bunch of different things,
Yeah.
your effectiveness on each one is going to be way less.
Right.
But when you focus your energy on just a few key areas,
Yeah.
the things that you're truly excited about,
Those hell yeah.
exactly, those hell yeah opportunities,
Yeah.
you can achieve much more
Okay.
and way more meaningful results.
That makes sense.
So for, someone like you, maybe prepping for a big meeting or like diving deep into a new part of their field,
Yeah.
focusing on the core stuff. Okay.
Things that are really exciting,
Yeah.
that's going to be so much more productive
Right.
than trying to absorb every single detail.
Okay. So it's about prioritizing.
That's it.
So Sivers says, say no to almost everything so you can say yes to what matters most.
I love that.
And that leads perfectly into this next idea.
Okay.
Clarity over complexity.
This one's a big one for me.
Oh, tell me about it.
So Sivers suggests that complexity can sometimes just be laziness.
Really?
Yeah. Like it's easier to add more and more stuff
Oh, yeah.
than to simplify things down to their core.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, real simplicity.
Uh-huh.
It takes a lot of thought
Yeah.
and deliberate choices.
So true.
It's like complexity becomes a way to avoid asking those big questions.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Like if you have a huge mess
Yeah.
of tasks and commitments, You don't have to think about what you're actually trying to achieve.
You're avoiding it.
Exactly.
So by simplifying things...
You have to get clear
Okay.
about your goals and why you're doing things.
Yeah.
And this applies to everything, right?
Yes.
Not just work.
Absolutely.
Your personal life, too.
Everything.
So simplifying and getting rid of distractions.
Creates a much clearer path to being fulfilled.
I like that.
It forces you to ask yourself, what do I really want?
Yeah.
And am I doing this for myself or to make someone else happy?
Ooh, that's a good one.
That clarity is so valuable.
It's huge.
Don't you think?
Absolutely.
Okay, good.
So instead of just reacting to whatever's happening,
You're taking control.
yeah, you start shaping your own experience.
And that's exactly what Sivers means by living with intention.
Okay, so he makes a distinction between just like reacting and being really intentional.
Yeah. A reactive existence versus a deliberate one.
Yeah.
Think about how much of your day is spent responding to things. Emails, notifications, other people's requests.
Other people's agendas.
Exactly.
So then deliberate living is about...
Taking the reins.
Okay.
Making conscious choices.
Instead of just going with the flow.
Instead of being swept along, it's about questioning those habits and those expectations.
Societal norms.
Yeah, the things we do without thinking.
Are they actually good for us?
Right. Are they aligned with our values?
Sivers wants us to really examine why we're doing things.
What's the motivation?
I like that.
And when you start asking those questions, you figure out what success actually means to you.
Oh, that's interesting.
Right. Society tries to tell us what success is.
A big house, the fancy car.
Yeah, a certain job title, a specific salary.
Right?
But Sivers encourages you to figure out success on your own terms.
I love that.
Forget about those external markers.
What does a successful life look like to you?
Exactly.
Which takes us to this really cool idea of freedom.
Oh, yeah.
But it's not the typical kind of freedom.
Not like unlimited money or traveling the world whenever you want.
Which is what a lot of people think about.
Yeah.
When they think about freedom.
So Sivers redefines it.
Okay.
He says it's about controlling your own time. Okay.
Your attention and your priorities.
Interesting.
It's about being able to make choices that reflect your values.
I like that.
Without needing anyone else's approval.
Without having to explain yourself.
Exactly.
And this idea of ownership is so important.
It is.
It's not enough to just be able to choose.
Right.
You have to actually take responsibility for your choices.
And the consequences of those choices.
Yeah, and what's interesting is that Sivers says this kind of freedom actually often requires structure.
Oh, that's a good point.
It's not about having no rules or constraints at all.
No, it's about choosing your boundaries.
Okay.
In a way that supports your goals and what you value.
So real freedom is control over your own time and choices.
That's it.
That feeling of being in control is so powerful.
It is.
Because you stop feeling like things are just happening to you.
Yeah.
And you start feeling like you can create your own life.
Right. You're not just along for the ride.
And when you're making intentional choices,
you're going to encounter change. And Sivers has a really good way of looking at that, too.
Yeah.
He talks about how it's totally fine to outgrow old dreams or projects or even parts of who you thought you were.
Like, we can change.
Yeah, we don't have to stay the same.
Right.
We often feel like we have to stick with things.
Yeah.
Because we've put so much time or effort into them.
We've already invested so much.
But Sivers says that sometimes the biggest growth comes from letting go.
It can be scary.
But it's often necessary.
Right.
So just because something was important to you before...
doesn't mean it has to be important forever.
It doesn't mean it has to control your future.
Exactly.
So changing direction and letting go of old versions of yourself. These aren't signs of failure.
They're part of growing.
Yeah.
They're necessary for evolution.
So if you're thinking about switching careers or changing your goals...
you're not alone.
Yeah, it's totally normal.
It's okay to change your mind.
Sivers says, you can outgrow your old dreams, and that's okay.
Yeah, and that's such a freeing thought.
It is.
Okay, so throughout the book,
yeah,
Sivers shares all these really wise thoughts and takeaways.
Give me some of the highlights.
Okay, so one big one is that success is personal.
Okay.
Comparing yourself to other people is usually pointless.
It can even be harmful.
Exactly.
Don't compare your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20.
Right.
Define what success means to you.
And create for yourself.
Oh,
Don't worry about what other people think.
Oh, that's so hard.
It can be.
Especially these days with social media and everything.
But finding that internal motivation.
Yeah.
That's way more sustainable.
That's what keeps you going.
And it's more fulfilling in the long run.
And he talks a lot about saying no.
Oh, yeah. He loves that.
He says that by saying no more often.
And saying it like you mean it.
You actually make your yeses more powerful.
Or meaningful.
It makes those hell yeah moments even better.
I love that.
And he talks about the importance of being alone sometimes.
Yeah, solitude.
To think and reflect.
To just be with yourself.
That's so important in today's world.
Yeah, it really is.
And he has all these great little quotes.
Oh, yeah.
That like sum up his whole philosophy.
Tell me some of your favorites.
Okay, this one's good. You don't need to be rich to live rich.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Which means you can define what a rich and fulfilling life means to you.
It doesn't have to be about money.
And then there's this one that's like a little bit more intense.
Okay.
Don't be on your deathbed someday having squandered your one chance at life.
Wow.
That'll get you thinking.
It will.
And this one is so relatable. Never forget why you're really doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's so easy to just get caught up in the day-to-day stuff.
And lose sight of the big picture.
And your purpose.
Your why.
And then finally, this one that kind of flips the script. The biggest risk is saying yes to mediocrity. So we have to set higher standards for ourselves.
Yes.
And go after what really matters.
Strive for excellence.
Okay.
Yeah.
So bringing it all back to you, our listener. Whether you're preparing for a big meeting or trying to learn about a new field.
They're just feeling overwhelmed.
Sivers' book, Hell Yeah or No, gives you a really great system.
I agree.
It's about getting rid of distractions and being really intentional with your choices. So it's not about doing more.
It's about choosing to do less.
Yeah, but with more enthusiasm and focus.
And alignment.
And being aligned with what makes you excited.
That's it.
It's not just another productivity hack.
Yeah.
It's about living mindfully.
Yes.
And examining what you're really committed to and making sure those things are aligned with what truly lights you up.
And giving yourself permission to say no.
Yes.
Without feeling guilty or like you have to explain yourself.
Exactly.
So that when you do say yes.
It's a true hell yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. So to wrap up our deep dive today.
Yeah.
The main message of hell yeah or no is to prioritize those things that you're super excited about and to say no to everything else.
With confidence.
It's a way to live a more focused, more meaningful, and I think a more joyful life.
I think so too.
So we want you to think about your commitments right now.
Yeah.
Which ones give you that hell yeah feeling?
And which ones drain you?
Yeah, which ones leave you feeling kind of blah?
Identifying those can be a really good starting point.
And here's one last thing to think about.
Okay.
What could you achieve if you made more space in your life by saying no more often?
Ooh.
What new hell yeah opportunities would show up?
What would become possible?
It's a really interesting question to consider.
It is.
So if you liked what you heard today,
we definitely recommend checking out Sivers' other work.
He has so much to say.
And there's a lot of practical wisdom in his writing.
Yeah, he's a great writer.
He is.
So thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
See you next time.
Like and subscribe.